Okay, okay, okay. Supposedly we're live. Okay. Uh, what I wanted to discuss tonight is some of the events of this evening uh, that have to do with, okay, a couple other YouTubers. Okay, supposedly we're live. Hang on. Okay. Uh, shit. What I wanted to, okay, there we go. Yes, hello, C's. I'm happy to see you here. Uh, let me get my desktop all situated. Anyways, uh, some of the people I follow on uh, YouTube have been dealing with, I guess you could say, domestic terrorism. Uh, since October of last year. Uh, the YouTubers are Green Bay Wacky, and the other one is Cab 7. They're very positive people. They do everything they can to lift people up and brighten their days and give people a reason to go on, you know. Uh, and apparently they've picked up some haters. Uh, hello, Rusty. Good to see you in here. Uh, anyways, they've picked up some haters, and these haters have been swatting these two YouTubers for several months and making death threats in text messages and death threats in phone calls and uh, calling their local police departments saying they're hurting their families and so forth and so on. And it came down tonight to where one of them was seriously considering leaving YouTube because of uh, all the problems they've been having. Well, thankfully, thankfully, uh, they decided to stay on YouTube, and the hell with these swatters and whatnot. But my whole thing is, oh, give it up, C's. Sometimes I just can't concentrate. But anyways, there's no reason. I don't care how much you hate somebody. I don't care how much you dislike their YouTube channel or their D Live channel or whatever. There's no reason to be calling the cops on them, trying to get them hurt by the police. Uh, it's just a bunch of bullshit. I mean, you've got to be a real bottom feeder to do that kind of thing to people that are just basically minding their own business. They're broadcasting on their own channel on YouTube. Uh, they're not forcing a gun to anybody's head. Yes, I'm smoking live. Yes, I'm a bad, bad guy. Uh, but there's no reason to do this and to do it from October all the way through tonight. Do you not have anything better to do with your time than to sit in somebody's stream and harass them and uh, call the police on them and just constantly stalk them online? I mean, if I don't like somebody on YouTube, I'm just not going to go to their stream. I'm not going to go to their channel. You know, it's pretty simple and pretty straightforward, I think. Uh, you claim to hate them so bad, yet, you spend all your time watching every move they make. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And unfortunately, uh, this is becoming more and more common in our society these days. Uh, People think they can hide behind a keyboard forever and never get caught. Well, uh, I know Cab Sevens spoke with his state police there in Pennsylvania, and once you get the state police and the FBI involved in this kind of thing, they're going to track you down sooner or later. Uh, I don't care how many VPNs you use, uh, you're leaving a digital footprint somewhere along the way, and they will be able to track it down. Um, it's I don't understand the thinking of some of these people when someone's minding their own business on their own personal YouTube channel. Why you want to spend all your time just trying to make their life a living hell, trying to get them to mentally break down. Uh, I've watched a lot over the past couple months. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We won't mention who was targeted on that one. Sees. Uh, Thankfully, that was mild. You know, that was that was a prank. Uh, Pranks are one thing, but when you're calling the police department and telling them, hey, someone's being murdered in the house or something like that, that's way beyond pranking and into uh, actual felonies. Uh, there's been people that have been swatted before that have been killed by the police. Uh, and I think the one I'm thinking of, I think that person was a gamer. And uh, let me turn my little heater down because it makes a lot of noise. Uh, I mean, you're gonna try to get someone killed over a game? Oh, big deal. They beat you in a game. I'm gonna call the cops on them. And that, to me, that's totally immature and shows no basic uh, human skills whatsoever. No social skills. If you can't handle uh, something small like that, how are you going to handle the world? Uh, yeah, Rusty, that's the thing. And I mean, it's like these two YouTubers that I'm talking about. They have went as far as went to their police stations, given their police stations their names, their phone numbers, all this stuff, that they're YouTubers and that there's possibility that someone's going to call and try to swat them and all that. And usually the cops, if they get a call about these people in question, they'll call them on their phone and check it out first before coming out. But here lately, again, the cops have been actually showing up again. Uh, and they're just terrorizing these people. They're terrorizing these people. They're terrorizing uh, their families. Even some of the moderators on these two YouTubers' channels, even some of the moderators have been swatted just for the simple fact that they're moderators on these channels. Uh, Another YouTuber I know uh, that knows these two very well. Uh, yes, I mean there was a police involved shooting tonight in New York, uh, where a couple police officers were sitting in a van, clearly marked, with their lights going, in a high crime neighborhood that had someone shoot into their van and hit one of the police officers. Thankfully, uh, there's no fatality or anything involved in that. He was hit in the chin and in the neck, but he'll be going home. But yeah, there's a lot of violence against police, and that does cause the police to kind of be on the edge, which makes these swatting attempts and everything even more dangerous. Uh, and it's sad. Uh, Thankfully, uh, the bigger YouTubers that I know, thankfully, haven't uh, had to deal with this bad of trolling. And like I say, it's not actually trolling; it's domestic terrorism. Is the whole, uh, to be honest. Uh, and thankfully, like I say, uh, there's no uh, haters coming after uh, the main person I mod for. Thankfully, I mean, I wouldn't wish this on anybody. Uh, and I know by going live and calling people out, uh, that I could make myself a target in some way, shape, or form. But, you know, if you believe in something, then you shouldn't be afraid to say so. And I really believe in getting these people that do these swattings and whatnot, I believe in getting them off the street. And, you know, I just finished my pot of coffee not too long ago. I'm thinking about starting another pot while I'm sitting here. I'm sitting here eyeballing my coffee cup over there. It's empty, and so's my coffee pot. Uh, but like I say, I just got done watching the one guy stream. He was streaming for almost 8 hours, and during the stream, uh, dealing with the police at his house, and uh, one of the other guys on the panel was dealing with threatening text messages coming in and having the cops called on him saying that he was murdering his wife and whatnot. So, yes, I know, it's coffee with Mr. B. Sometimes Mr. B doesn't have a full pot, okay? I didn't start a pot before I went live. Shame on me. Bad, bad. But anyhow, like I say, I just got done watching those streams, so it's fresh on my mind, and I wanted to get out there. And C's is harassing me. I'm gonna have to make a pot of coffee because C's is just tormenting me. So you guys be right here. I'll be on my headset and be in the other room. Uh, let's see. There we go. Light. Oop. I know this is exciting, isn't it? Listening to Mr.B get water to make coffee. It's exciting, thrilling. And by the way, if anyone's wondering, that backdrop there is the USS Alabama, which is permanently moored in Mobile, Alabama, in Mobile Bay. And it's also a featured ship in one of the games I play, which is World of Warships. And I found out the other day that apparently this coming October, they just announced that they're going to be having a World of Warships gaming event there at the USS Alabama on October 17th. So I'm seriously considering buying a couple tickets for that. I've been over there to the Alabama before, and for a little while I was part of the living history crew for the USS Alabama, but unfortunately, due to my limitations from my back and my legs and all that, I just couldn't physically put the water in, put the coffee in, but I forgot to hit the button. Why permanently moored? The Alabama USS Alabama BB 60 was last in action in World War II. Currently, there are no battleships in the U.S. Navy fleet. The last 4 battleships that were ever made were the Wisconsin, the Missouri, the Iowa, and the New Jersey. And they seen action at the end of World War II. The Missouri and I think it was Missouri and the Wisconsin that were most recently in action, which Reagan put them back into service and upgraded them in the 80s. The Missouri's last shots fired in anger were during the Gulf War in 1991. The Missouri has since been retired and is permanently docked in Pearl Harbor, basically right in front of the USS Arizona Memorial. The Wisconsin is in Norfolk, Virginia at the naval base as a museum ship. The Iowa is in Los Angeles, actually in Long Beach, as a museum ship, and New Jersey is moored in New Jersey as a museum ship. Yeah, Yeah, I've been to Pearl Harbor. I've been on the Missouri. I've been to the Arizona Memorial and to Ford Island, to the air base there at Ford Island. Uh, Lots of history there. Uh, that was like number one on my bucket list was to go to Hawaii and visit Pearl Harbor and everything. And even even in my poor physical shape, I was actually able. Took me a long time, but I was able to get up to the top of Diamond Head. If I was asked to do it today, I couldn't do it. my my back and my legs have gotten so much worse that there's no way I would even think about climbing to the top of Diamond Head. Oh, okay. Okay. I Let's see. When was it when I went out there? I believe it was 2000. It's either 2013 or 2012 when I went out to Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. I can't remember the exact year, but it was very enjoyable. Okay, yeah, yeah. It's definitely a once in a lifetime trip to visit the Hawaiian Islands. That's for sure. I would, if I could, I'd go back in a heartbeat. If I ever win the lottery, I may just pack up and buy me a place in Hawaii and live there the rest of my days. But I don't think I'll ever win the lottery. Uh, but yeah, I'm very into naval history and everything. That's why I've got the backdrop of the Alabama there, uh, and that's only like 45 minutes away from my house. So I go down there probably once a year to the Alabama, and unfortunately, I can't climb around the ship like I used to be able to, but such is life. One of these days, I'm going to get over to Baton Rouge, where the moderator Becky Scarlett lives, and over there in Baton Rouge on the river, uh, they've got the USS Kidd moored out there, which is yeah, uh, the Kidd is a World War II destroyer. I can't remember what class she is, but she's moored there in Baton Rouge as a museum ship. Yeah, there's quite a few of the old subs that are still on eternal patrol. Uh, some of them have been found. Some of them have never been found. The Thresher was one of our subs that was lost at one point and lost with the entire crew on it. And Rusty, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they did find the Thresher eventually. But yeah, yeah, I knew it was in the 60s at some point, but I couldn't remember exactly when. Bermuda Triangle real? Now there's a question. There's mm, there's something about that area. I don't know if it's magnetic. Uh, don't know if it's paranormal. Don't know if it's government agencies or aliens from outer space, or maybe aliens from another dimension. I mean, there's been a lot of ships lost in that area, a whole squadron of Navy planes went missing in the Bermuda Triangle. Uh, People have went through there on yachts, ships, and everything, uh, and had their compasses and everything affected. There's definitely some kind of magnetic force in that area in order to screw up electronics and to screw up compasses like it does. There's some kind of magnetic force of some kind going on there. Now, whether it's, I don't know, some undersea government base or, who knows? It could just be something naturally occurring in the Earth's crust uh, that is creating the magnetism. Uh, Good God, what is my coffee maker doing? Making all kinds of racket over here. Okay. Apparently my coffee maker lid wasn't shut all the way. Anyways, hey Garth, how the hell are you? Good to see you. Yeah, I've got several mods in here. I've got more mods than viewers, but I'm picking up subscribers. At last count, I was at 63 subscribers. Burning down the outside, yeah, okay. Uh, but yeah, there's something going on in that part of the world. Sees, but what it is, I honestly couldn't say. Uh, I mean, that's just like the whole Area 51 deal last year. Uh, hey, Garth. Yeah. Uh, Area 51, I don't care what they say. There's no aliens there. Uh, Area 51 is uh, where all the latest aircraft technologies are developed and tested and things before they're ever actually. Oh, am I up to 67 now? Wow, I've picked up a couple more. Cool. I like that. I know on D Live, my D Live channel, I'm all the way up to 54 on D Live, which I enjoy D Live because, good God, that damn coffee maker's loud. Uh, can you hear that coffee maker? Good God. Anyways, but D Live is kind of fun. Uh, they don't save your videos. Uh, no, I didn't see that. But yeah, it's like I say, D Live is kind of fun because I can play actual music over there, and you don't have to worry about copyright strikes over there. So you can broadcast and have music on and whatnot. It's plus to get your channel monetized on D Live. you only have to have 200 followers, or in YouTube terms, only 200 subscribers. Uh, YouTube, you have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, and for me to get to that point, it'll take uh, probably at least a couple years. Uh, yeah, you know, that's usually the way it is. Uh, as they say, fiddling while Rome burns. Shit starts to hit the fan, the leaders kind of disappear. That's, and of course, here in our country, can't even get the leaders to agree to disagree. There we go. Uh, I mean, you've got Trump speaking at the State of the Union and Pelosi tearing up his speech, and then the whole impeachment fiasco, which was nothing more than a waste of taxpayer money. They knew they'd never get him removed from office, yet they went for it anyways with a bunch of bullshit charges. Did I just say bullshit on the air? Oh my God, I did. And I did it again. Uh, I'm not sure on that. Uh, I don't think there's any American airlines that are flying in and out of China right now, but that's not to say that there's not American aircraft flying in and out of there. Oh yeah, there's. What was your old unit, Rusty? I might know of the incident. Might even be the same unit that I spent time in. I know you were in the infantry. I remember that much. We went through basic training at the same base, but I can't remember what unit you went to. Okay, okay, okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. Yep. The forgotten part of World War II, the Aleutian Islands. Only part of real American territory that the Japanese occupied. I was, let's see, I spent a little bit of time, not much, but a little bit of time in the 82nd, and then I was transferred over to the 101st and went air assault. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that transpired up there in the Aleutian Islands that most Americans don't even realize, you know. Uh, and that they still haven't. It was thought for a long time that the Japanese invasion of uh, Kiska and Attu Islands. It was thought that that was a kind of a feint during the Battle of Midway to throw the Americans off, but I think it's since come out that they've pretty well determined it was two separate operations. Uh, And, that wasn't even, uh, that wasn't till the very end of the war when we actually had our troops in there uh, to take the islands back. Uh, I watched, I forget what the name of the program was, but it was a documentary, and uh, one of the guys that they were interviewing was an immigrant from Germany that had signed up in the army, and they wouldn't let him fight in Europe. So he was in the army and went up there to the Aleutian Islands to fight the Japanese because they wouldn't let him fight in Europe against the Germans. Just like Senator Inouye from Hawaii, he was of Japanese ancestry, and when World War II broke out, he joined the army, and they wouldn't let him fight in the Pacific campaign. So him and a bunch of other Japanese were made into a unit and sent over to Italy to fight the Germans. You know, nowadays, good Lord, if they did that nowadays, they'd never hear the end of it. But back in World War II, anyone of German ancestry they kept in the Pacific, and anyone of Asian ancestry they sent to Europe. Uh, it, it's really weird the way that transpired then, but I guess you have to look at it uh, in the view of the leadership of the day. The 40s was a much different time, and whatnot. I mean, like I say, you couldn't get away with doing that kind of thing today. Uh, Especially with as integrated as the U.S. Armed Forces are, you couldn't separate all that out nowadays. But back then, it was really a big deal. Uh, and just like the Japanese internment camps during World War II, I mean, American citizens that just happened to be of Japanese ancestry were locked away in camps and basically lost every bit of property they had. Uh, yeah, loose threads are a pain in the ass when you're in the military. That's why even if you didn't smoke, you always carried a cigarette lighter, burn them threads off. That and polishing your brass. Oh my God, I used to hate polishing my brass. Boots I didn't mind so much, but the brass, oh, that drove me nuts. Thankfully, on our BDUs, at least we didn't have the brass, but on our Class A's, we had the brass. Uh, yeah, it's good to see you in here, Cease. I'm really happy to see you. Like I say, it's been a week or so since I actually streamed. I've been I've been streaming on D Live uh, a lot more than YouTube lately, because at least D Live, like I say, to become a verified partner, you basically only need 200 followers. And I mean, as it is right now, I can get donations and whatnot on D Live and cash them out. But once you get to your 200, uh, then you start earning uh, while you stream. Uh, Another one of the guys I follow on D Live has just started streaming. Yeah, yeah, polishing boots, polishing brass, that stuff gets everywhere. And thankfully, thankfully, being in the infantry, I didn't really have to deal with a lot of mechanical stuff besides my weapon and everything. Uh, but like when I got out of the army and I started driving over the road trucks and everything, uh, I learned real quick that something about my body chemistry, I had some kind of weird magnetism for grease. I could walk past my truck and grease would jump out from the fifth wheel or something and somehow get on my clothes somewhere. And you wouldn't know about it. And then before the day is done, you've got fifth wheel grease all over all your clothes. And that was, oh God, I used to hate that. I couldn't keep the grease off me when I drove over the road trucks. Even when I drove local, uh, even working for the post office, when I drove for them, hell, my uniform would constantly be getting grease on it. Yeah, hell, if I knew where it came from, you know, land forces. Well, yeah, that's that's where the army usually fights. Of course, back World War II, our Air Force was the Army Air Corps and didn't become the Air Force until after the war. And then you had the Marines and the Navy. Not Army. Yeah, that's strange. So you must have been a military nurse. I'm assuming, since you're a nurse now. I mean, oh hell. Well, look at it this way, Rusty. I'm just looking back up through the chat, seeing your last post. Look at it this way, Rusty. At least you weren't in the seventh. I mean, way back in the day, what happened to the seventh cavalry? Good old George Armstrong Custer. Okay, medic. Yeah. So it makes sense that you became a nurse. That makes sense. I figured maybe you were in a medical unit. Well, I can understand that. Like my daughter, her one friend that she went all the way through school with, uh, got married uh, early last year, I believe it was, and her husband signed up uh, for airborne infantry, and then uh, my daughter's friend signed up to be an airborne medic. So they're both, of course, finished their training now, and they're actually both in the same unit over in Germany right now. So yeah, I understand, you know, about being a medic. That was just something. I don't think I could have done that. I mean, I could run around in the woods and play soldier all day, but as far as being a medic, I don't think I could go for that stuff. I seen enough of that when I was driving trucks. We were always the first ones to the scene of accidents, even before the police or the ambulance showed up. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's because if you was an RN, that would make you an officer. So yeah, they'd have to salute you then. There's no way I could have been an officer. I mean, there's no way. I'm not idiotic enough for that, you know. At least not to be a first or second lieutenant. Even captains are kind of stupid. I found that basically once a person reaches lieutenant colonel, then then they have some sense to them, you know. But like first and second lieutenants are the worst because they're trying to make a name for themselves. I'm sure Rusty can attest to that fact. I never, I say, I never really met any officers below the rank of lieutenant colonel that I could get along with. I could get along with just about anyone in the military, but first, second lieutenants and captains, nah. Majors, they started to ease up a little bit by then, but oh hell. Yep, I made it to E4 myself. If I would have stayed in, I would have made sergeant, but I wasn't too worried about that at the time. I wanted to get out and get on with my life. That's stupid. I have adjusted this camera I don't know how many different times. But yeah, y'all, eh, I never worried about that. I mean, Army was getting pretty integrated during the time I was in. Now it's really integrated. I mean, back then when I was in, we didn't have women in any combat units whatsoever. Didn't matter whether it was medics or what. But you know, times change. Thankfully, I never I never had a problem with female officers or anything like that. But you know, I learned. I guess you could say early on, I looked at what was on the shoulder, and that is basically how I determined how to deal with people. But yeah, there was there was a lot of the anti-women uh, attitude in the '80s when I was in. Me, I never it never bothered me because I mean it's just like for instance driving trucks. You know, when I first started driving trucks, let's see, my actual first day driving a truck, being paid to do it, was January 2nd of '88. And at that time, women drivers of big rigs were few and far between, and they were really looked down on. But over my career as a driver, I met plenty of women drivers that could outdrive the men any day of the week, you know, uh, because, at that time, uh, the trucking industry was really changing. The trucks were becoming more advanced and more driver friendly. Uh, One of the last cab over trucks I ever drove didn't even have power steering in it. And oh my God, I fought that truck. I don't think a smaller woman could have drove that truck. But nowadays, you've got power steering, you've got automatic transmissions in the trucks now. Uh, nowadays, it's a whole different ball of wax when it comes to drivers. Uh, they come in all shapes and sizes and genders, and I guess you could say even transgenders, because there's a few of them out there on the road too. I'm not, I guess I'm not politically correct enough to totally accept that sort of thing. I mean, uh, my daughter, she has a group of friends that one of them is, I guess you could say, transgender guy that goes around as a girl. Me, I don't understand that. I guess I'm probably too old. But yeah, it's quite a sight in extreme deep South Mississippi in a small town of 800 to see that. Uh, doesn't strike you as being, the old South. If you get my drift, I mean, there's a lot of stereotypes about the South that still go around today. And if you live in the South, you learn real quick. Stereotypes just don't uh, fit everyone. Now, granted, a lot of people down here are not the sharpest tacks in the box. Yeah, I don't know. As far as that stuff goes, uh, it's just like gay marriage. Okay, like I used to say, I used to joke all the time. Let the gays get married. Let them suffer like the rest of us. You know, I've been married once before. That marriage was 7 years of hell. Now I'm married, and this year, at the end of this year, at the end of this year, I'll have been been married to my wife for 24 years. So we're closing in on the 25-year mark. But yeah, as far as gays getting married and everything, let them, you know. Uh, like I used to say, especially after I got divorced, yeah, let them suffer like the rest of us. And when they start having to go through divorces and split all their shit with someone that hates their guts, then we'll be equals. you know, that's kind of my view on it. Let them be equal with us. They want to get married and all that. Hey, more power to them. I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care who you love because it doesn't affect me at all. It doesn't affect me and my wife. It doesn't affect my children. I mean, it would affect my children if they said they were gay, but you know, uh, as far as that goes, well, people should be free to do what they want. The government shouldn't be involved in marriage whatsoever, telling people who they can and can't marry. To me, that's none of the government's business. You know, if you have to get a marriage license, why don't you have to get a parent license? You know, that would make more sense than a marriage license is a parent license. Look at how many bad parents we have in the world today. That's that's why we have a lot of the problems we have nowadays is because people have forgotten or never learned how to raise kids. Unfortunately. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I never had any people in my family be officers. I had an uncle that was a tail gunner in a B-17 in Europe. My dad made it to sergeant. He was in Korea. My brother, he went into the army. I think he made it to Spec 4. He was in the engineers. Of course, I went airborne infantry. I made E4, and neither one of my kids has joined the military, which in a way I'm thankful for, but you know, uh, I've got daughters, but uh, like my youngest daughter, she works at the nursing home right now as a CNA, has been there, I guess, about a year and a half now. She's actually going to be on vacation next week, her first vacation ever. She said something today because she got a packet in the mail uh, from the insurance company that her work uses to handle uh, their retirement and their life insurance and all that. And my daughter picked up that envelope and she looked at it and read who it was from, and she dropped it back down on the counter and she looked at me and she says, "Can I quit being an adult now?" I says, "What's the matter? You don't like adulting too much?" But I've got to give her credit. She has a very good work ethic. The only time she's ever missed work was when she was deathly sick. And she's the kind where she works, she gets very emotionally attached to her residences. And she has a tough time when one of them passes away, unfortunately. But unfortunately, in that kind of job, it's kind of the nature of the beast, you know. I'm sure I'm sure you know all about that, C's. You probably see that in and out every day. But I've I keep telling her that she needs to go to school and uh, get her LPN or RN, one of the two, and she doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want to be a nurse. I don't think she wants to stay in this career, but she is wanting to go to school. I just don't know what she wants to do uh, as far as schooling goes. Yeah, yeah. Mm, That's like my oldest daughter. She come down here. I think it was the end of September or October last year, 'cause she getting kicked out of her house and was gonna be homeless. Thankfully, next week I get to take her back up to Missouri, 'cause like I say, we live in a well, we don't actually live in town. I live 8 miles out of town, and it's only a town of 800. And my oldest, she got a job at the same nursing home. Matter of fact, my wife works at the nursing home, but my wife works in the kitchen, and my wife got my oldest daughter a job there as a cook on the opposite shift that my wife is cook on. So they worked opposite days, but that lasted about a month. My oldest daughter doesn't have quite the same work ethic that my youngest daughter has, because she was raised by her mother and not me and my wife. So yeah, you can definitely tell that my youngest and my oldest were raised in two different households. But that problem is solving itself now finally. So my house will become much more stress free after next week, because for the past 5 months it's been nothing but stress every day, day in, day out. Oh, so what else is going on in the world tonight with y'all? Uh, let's see. I've got 4 viewers, and I know Garth is watching, and I know Rusty is watching, and C's is watching. So who's that other person lurking in the chat? Or lurking, watching, probably waiting for me to make a mistake. Which, granted, streaming, I make lots of those. I make lots of mistakes streaming. Hell, the other day on D Live, I was basically doing a music stream, playing a lot of 80s and 70s music, and oh, I would have my mic muted, or I would have the desktop audio muted to where the song actually wasn't playing, and oh my God. All right, C's, you take care. I'm probably gonna end the stream here shortly, and I might go over there to D Live and do a little broadcasting over there, and maybe playing some music and just general screwing around. Yeah, thanks for coming in, C's. You're always welcome here, and if you ever want to join me up on screen, all you need to do is to have Zoom, and we can talk back and forth together on live stream. Sometimes it works good. Sometimes things get weird. I'll just leave it at that. So, anyways, I think I'm going to call it a night on YouTube. And yeah, I'm glad you finally caught it. I, Sooner or later, I'll have a little bit more audience and more interaction. But like I say, y'all are welcome to come over to D Live at any time and check that out. Uh, like I say, it's a little bit more loose than YouTube and everything. So in a lot of ways, it's a lot more fun than YouTube because you can actually do more. So So, yeah, yeah. Uh, and like I say, up at the very top of the chat stream, I've got uh, my little Discord server that I have for the channel listed in there. You're more than welcome to come into the Discord, and I try to keep it. Uh, yeah, it's a good way to just kind of chat back and forth and discuss the day's events and get ready to go to bed. And uh, like I say, you know, jump on over to D Live sometime and check it out. It's pretty fun. Just type in D as in dog live dot TV, and that'll get you over there. I have the same exact name over there that I do on YouTube, so easy to find me. So I guess we'll catch y'all later. Y'all take care. Thanks a lot for coming in, and we'll catch you next time.